Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another Inside Lowell podcast, where today we're going to offer an inside view of the Mill City's football team. We're going inside the Pirates, the Massachusetts Pirates, who happen to be riding a 2-game winning streak, looking to make it 3 in a row this Saturday night in Iowa against the Barnstormers. And joining us on the Zoom line to talk about that game and tell us a little bit about himself, because he's a newbie to the team and to the area, is the new offensive coordinator of the Massachusetts Pirates, Martino Theus. Coach, how are you? Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for having me. Great to be here in the city of Boston.
Yeah, so we kind of chatted before I started
Yeah,
recording this, and if you look at your bio on the team's website, a lot of stuff coaching in the Midwest. You've coached in the South.
yeah.
I didn't see you working up here certainly not in Lowell, but even in the Northeast or the Boston area. So you're definitely a newbie to the Northeast.
Oh yeah. Oh yes, yes. I'm new to the Northeast. I hadn't coached up here in the Northeast,
Mhm.
but the weather is great. I'm kind of learning the seafood up here in Boston area. So it's kind of it's a good environment. I love the people. I never met so many people that stop for pedestrians in my life.
Really?
I'm walking and I see people like stopping and having having traffic blocks and stuff, and they telling me to go ahead, and I'm just kind of like, okay, go ahead. They're like, no, you go ahead. I'm like, okay, so we fighting to get across the road.
I'm stunned that you say that. We're not known for being the most polite drivers out there.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Well, you polite to pedestrians. Let's just say that.
all right. In a car, we'll cut you off flat. You played for about a decade before you kind of got into coaching. What made you decide? All right, now's the time. It's time for me to transition and keep my foot in the game, but do it in a different sort of way.
Well, actually, I played from 1998 to 2006. Okay. I had a very stellar career during that time. I caught 161
Yeah.
balls and 1,700 yards and 23 touchdowns in one season. And actually, my 2006 season, I tore my ACL. No, 2005. I tore my ACL, MCL, and my meniscus.
Ooh,
And you know how athletes do. They
sure.
come back, they rehab, they want to come back, and by that time I was almost like at my end of my career, not at the end of my career, but I was more older. I was a veteran then, and so what had happened was that I got ready to come back, and one of my good mentors is a good mentor right now named John Lyles, and they got ready. I'm just gonna be honest with you. They cut me. I never been cut in my life. Like I've been cut, but I've never been cut. And this one really hurt. And they told me 2006, they said Coach T, well they didn't call me T. They was like, Martino, we're gonna cut you. And I said, what? So really what happened was they said, okay, long story short, you done had a good career, a wonderful career. Why don't you go ahead and share some knowledge to the older guys? Me myself, I wasn't really trying to hear it. I wanted to play, and I went home and I thought about it. I talked to my family, I talked to God, and you know, God kind of led me to say, you know what, you need to show somebody else and lead somebody else in the direction that you went in. And actually, that's why I'm sitting right here today. I've been coaching since 2006 and up until 2025. I hadn't missed not one season. I've been coaching in college. I've been coaching in high school, middle school. I hadn't missed not one beat yet, not one season.
Yeah, it's funny that as you told us about your path to being a coach and getting to the Pirates, you perfectly highlighted the fact that it's professional sports, but it's a business, right? There comes a
Yeah,
time where,
yeah,
we're all, commodities, and when we can't,
yeah,
someone thinks we can't produce like we used to, or they expect us to, it's time to move on. But you've certainly looked like you made the best of it. But it's interesting. You found yourself, the circumstances that brought you here to Lowell were kind of funny as well. You came in right before game 3, so training camp has gone by. The team's already played 2 of its games, and now we bring in a new offensive coordinator. What was that like for you, and what made you take an opportunity instead of saying, you know what, maybe I'll wait, start fresh, in an off season and have a chance to build my system somewhere?
No, no, I didn't really think about that. I've always been hungry for the fire any part of the season, by just coming back watching the Super Bowl, by watching football in the whole off season, and they were talking about things that they needed to happen in the organization. So when I got in touch with with the owner and his father, and we kind of made a decision, like, is they wanted to make a change, and I was available. And so and I was hungry to get back into it. And, at that point they was 0-2, but I've never been afraid to take on a challenge in my life. You know, I'm not saying this was a challenge because this is such a great organization. It just was just missing a couple pieces. I'm not saying I'm not the piece, but I'm one of the pieces that's going to be part of the piece at the end of the year. So, by me saying that, they already had a great quarterback, a great offense, a great coach. They already had a great owner. So by me coming in, I just added to a piece of what they had. And I just kind of simplified everything. And once I simplified everything, I came in, and here I am right now. Trying to get back to 500 right now.
Yeah.
That's my goal right now, trying to get us to 500.
Yeah, interesting you mentioned simplifying things because, the normal course, for those not familiar
Yeah.
with it, is a coach comes in and a coordinator comes in and they implement their system and their way of doing things and all the plays and designs, and they do it through gradual steps in training camp, and you may even have a practice game or two, and then you kind of start the season off. You had to do it on the fly, though. You had to do it when, your first game coaching, that game counts in the standings. You win,
Yeah,
lose, it affects your future, your playoffs and whatnot. So how did you approach it? Was it simply just keep it as simple as possible and, take time to build it up?
See, actually, it's funny that you say that, actually, because I've always coached veteran quarterbacks, who actually already knew the game. And by me coming in with a rookie quarterback in
Uh,
Kenji Barr, I'm not saying a rookie quarterback, but when I say he's young to the indoor game, but he got a great football IQ. He's a great quarterback to work with. He's knowledgeable of the game. So by me coming in, when I say simplify, I really just had to, like, tell him where the angles are and where the ball need to go, and the defenses that you're about to see, not just on the outside, but on the indoor football. And once he started seeing that, just like he started seeing it from the outdoor. You grow from the outdoor, you go from in to out. And so that's what he's doing right now. He's grooming himself, and I'm not throwing the whole playbook at him. I'm gradually showing him
right.
progression, one step to the next step, to the next step, to the next step. Because if you looked at his stats, I don't really just let him go like 17 for 35. I kind of keep it with mid-range, like 12 for 15, 12 for 14, kind of keep everything basic for a rookie quarterback, because you never know. Once he start hitting that curve, he's really gonna be special.
Yeah. Well, to me, that's where your impact has been seen the most. Not disrespecting him, but the Kenji who we saw on the field at the Songa Center in games 1 and 2, completely different guy these last couple of weeks. And you can see it's been like a gradual progression. How close is he? How close are you to having the system that you really want to run in place? And will we see that this year, or do we need an off season or so to get that in?
No, I don't know. What I want to see is what he's picking up right now. I'm not just gonna just because you see, him turning the curve, don't mean that I'm still gonna go, my whole playbook wide open. It's just all about what he see, and all about every game by game, and what the defense gonna give us. We're gonna take what they give us each game by game. Now, by us, communicating, collaborating with each other, and by him telling me his knowledge, and by me knowing my knowledge, we kind of collaborate with our knowledge together to make kind of our game plan, to make myself comfortable and to make himself comfortable. So when he get out on the field, he can be comfortable.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like right now?
I do. How much did it help having the wide receivers on the roster that you had? You talked about being a receiver, so and being a productive one. How much of a help was it to him, but also to you to have that skill level in T.O. and in 𝐈𝐧𝐬𝐿 and the whole room in there?
I can, it's like having those three veterans on the field. I don't know what you want to call it. Like whatever expensive car you want to drive, the most expensive car you want to drive, that's what you got right now. You got the Bentley, you got the Ferraris, you got every car you want, the Rolls Royces, you got every car that you really want by having those veterans and by having the veteran impact and the veteran impact around 𝐏𝐭𝐬𝐬 for them to embrace him into the offense, into the whole team. Those are the best wide receivers is in the game right now. And I have the best O-line in the game. I have the best run game coordinator and the best O-line coach in Jordan Mosley. I have the best, wide receiver coaches and Marty Gilliard and Mike Tatum. And so when all us collaborating together, it's just like we just making magic over here, and once we start making magic, everything is going to happen. And I feel like we're going to start making a championship run for this in the next 3 to 4 weeks right now. Yeah, 2 games, okay, let's go for 3. We're not taking it game by game. People say game by game, but right now, our philosophy on offense is quarter by quarter.
Love it. We're chatting with Martino Theus, the offensive coordinator for the Massachusetts Pirates, as we go inside the Pirates. We talked about it, 2-game winning streak. It looks like everything is kind of rolling along now as we expected it to at the beginning of the year. We're a little spoiled, we Massachusetts Pirates fans. So you're going now into Iowa to face the Barnstormers, and I'm looking at those standings and I'm saying, there's a team that's 1-8. Boy, that's a W waiting to happen. But I think back a few weeks ago, you were going into Arizona against a team that hadn't won a game, and right now, you guys are the only victory they have. Is that something you're reminding the guys of in practice all week long? Like you cannot take anybody for granted, especially on the road?
Did I remind them? I just reminded them before I came on the interview. Like really, it's like seriously, I really did just remind them. I said, guys, I'm not saying that this is gonna be a scary game, but this is a game that we really owe. We owe because we took the first game lightly, and so let's just go in and let's kick doors down this time because we never should have lost the first game. That a team that was really old and forever, and we should not lose it to a team that's won and not even going to the playoffs. And we got a chance to go to the playoffs and a chance to win out and a chance to go to the championship game. So guess what? We taking that mentality and we're rolling into the game Saturday.
Yeah, despite the early season struggles, as I looked at the standings, you're 1 game out in the loss column of a playoff berth, and one of those teams that you're chasing, the Tulsa Oilers, you actually play here at home a week and a half from now. How difficult is it to keep from looking ahead to that one?
I mean, right now, I've done a couple of interviews before, and right now it's like I'm a down south guy. I'm from Tennessee, so I have to please respect me when I say this. I'm an SEC guy, okay? So this conference is like the SEC conference right now. Everybody playing everybody knocking each other off week by week. So you never know who's gonna be number 1. You never know who's gonna be number 12. You never know who's gonna be number 8. Within the next night of a game until the standings come out within the next 24 hours. So everybody playing each other right now and they contending and they beating each other up. And while everybody beating each other up, we're going to stay focused on our goal. Like I said, not game by game, quarter by quarter.
1 quarter at a time, 1 interview at a time. Martino Theus, the offensive coordinator for the Massachusetts Pirates. Thanks so much for joining. Good luck this weekend. We hope you guys keep the good times rolling, and we're excited to welcome you back home against Tulsa on Saturday the 21st.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you, Coach. That is Martino Theus, the head coach, the offensive coordinator of the Massachusetts Pirates, joining us here for our Inside the Pirates podcast. We thank him. We thank you for joining us, and we look forward to another Pirates game this weekend, hopefully another victory for the team, and let's get him back here to the Tsongas Center on a 3-game winning streak. Until next time, everybody stay safe, stay dry out there. It's a rainy Tuesday afternoon, and we will catch you on the other side.